Today we're going to be looking at adverbs, both how we form them and how we use them. So let's get started. Adverbs are words that modify, that is, give more information about verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. So they usually answer questions like how something is done, in what way something is done. And a lot of adverbs in English are sort of modified forms of adjectives. So if you look at this example, we have an adjective like happy, and we add ly to it, and it becomes happily. And we can do this for not all adjectives, but for a lot of adjectives, where wretched becomes wretchedly, or heavy becomes heavily. So this is just sort of a common way. These aren't all the adverbs in English, but a lot of them end in ly, and they are derived from adjectives. And the same is true in Latin, and those are super easy to form. And I've already been using them in class, and we use them all the time, and probably without thinking very much. But what we do is, for the kind that are those first, second group, so something like this, laitus, laita, laitum, which means happy, we just remove the us and we add e. And so laite would mean happily. We do the same thing with something like miser. We just need to find the root, right? And so with this, miser is the root, right? We know that because the feminine is misera. So if we want to use the feminine form, we remove that. That gives us miser. And then we just add our e, misere, wretchedly. But third, adjectives that belong to that third declension, like facilis, facile, or gravis, grave, or here, felix, felicis, form it in a slightly different way. And they use this ending iter. Iter is a noun you already know, right? It means way. And really what the Romans are doing is they're adding this word way to the end of an adjective. So feliciter, you're doing something in a happy way, that is happily. Gravis, graviter, you're doing it in a serious way, you're doing it seriously. But you can see that wherever you want to find your stem, if you remove the is or if you remove the e, our stem is going to be grau, and we're going to add the iter to it. Right here we have to go to the genitive form, to felic, and we add iter. So that is it. It is just finding the root and adding either e for the first, second kind, or iter for the third kind. So super easy. One thing that we might not normally think about is that adverbs can be comparative and superlative too. So we might say something like happily, right? She does her work happily, but we can also say she does her work more happily, or we could say that she does it most happily. We don't really think about these as being comparatives and superlatives, I think, but they are. And if we want to express that in Latin, we're not going to add these additional words, more or most. We already know that. But what we're going to do is take either the comparative form or superlative form and do something with it. For the comparative forms, we really just use the neuter form, accusative form of the adjective. That is all it is. So you know that something like, it would be laetior, laetius. Laetius is the neuter, laetior is masculine and feminine. Here, laetius can also be the adverb. Can this be confusing? Well, in practice, not really. if there's a neuter singular noun that's being modified, that will be really obvious. And if there's no neuter singular noun to be modified, then it's probably an adverb. So laetius, more happily, mysterious, more wretchedly, felicius, more happily, gravius, more seriously or more heavily. And then for the superlatives, these are easy because we're doing the same thing that we do here, right? We take laetissimus, we remove the us, and we add that e. So laetissime is most happily, miserrime, most wretchedly, felicissime, most happily, gravissime, most heavily. So that's it. So it seems a little strange, I know, but once you see it in context, I think it'll be really easy. These aren't a problem because there's no other form that looks like this, really. It's the comparative ones that can seem a little tricky at times. And of course, just like we have irregular adjectives, we do have a handful of irregular adverbs, but these tend to be pretty common words, and so we get used to them pretty commonly, as we do with all kinds of irregulars. So the adjective for bonus is bene, which means well, but of course, we've been saying this, I think, for a very long time. Facilis is really interesting because it should be facilitaire, right? But it's not. Why is it not? I don't know, but we just use the form facile to mean easily. So it can be a little confusing, but it shouldn't be terrible. Magnus gets this little ending pere, magnopere. Again, why? I don't know, but that's what means greatly. Malus is male, that's completely regular. Multus becomes multum. Here we're just using the neuter singular accusative. And this can happen sometimes that we just use the neuter singular accusative as a shorthand for an adverb. But with multus, this happens really regularly. So multum can just mean a lot. And parvus is similar. It loses the V, but it becomes parvum, a little or too little. And then we have these other adverbs that can come in really handy. Magis is an adverb that means more, and minus, as you can guess, means less. And so these will get sort of tossed in interesting places. So just to add emphasis, really. But that will also become clear the more we use them. There are, in your book, a whole host of other, I would call them random adverbs. And these are really just vocabulary that you need to memorize on pages 129 and 130. You'll notice that a lot of these adverbs end in the letters im, and these are words that where the im ending is essentially equivalent to an ly. So something like partim means partly. So, but most adverbs don't have this im ending, so we just sort of learn the handful that do. There are also some that either begin with an H or an I, and these are sort of the here and there words. So the H's, conveniently, are the here words, just like in English, and the I words are the there words. So you want to look at those and learn them. We'll go over them and start using them a lot in class. And the other thing that you'll see on page 130 is that some of the prepositions that you've already learned can also function as adverbs, and we do this in English too. So, you can use a word like around to say he lives around the block, where around is a preposition, but you can just say something like I'll see you around, right? Around there is really just an adverb. So Latin does the exact same thing, especially with words like circa or extra, outside, right? Or intra, inside. So these sort of place prepositions can also often function as adverbs. So that is it. Adverbs are really easy. They are not tricky. They are super, super regular. And if you remember the letter E as an ending and the ending iter as an ending, you are pretty much good to go. So send me your questions and I'll see you soon.